Good evening. Eso. Buenas tardes. Buenas noches. Bonsoir. Some instructions. If you don't have the device, you want to hear the session if you speak Spanish, go to the table outside and claim for one. Los que hablan español y que quieren oír toda la sesión, porque todo va a estar en inglés aquí, hay los aparatos que los entreguen ahí a la entrada. Y si has tenido uno que no funciona, devuélvelo para pedir otro. Moun qui parle créole, si nous avons besoin de sessions en créole, nous avons sorti à demander sous table qui soumet boîte là, les n'apprendrez, pour être capable de nous, eh bien, petit appareil ça que y a pour expliquer nous comment on servir ensemble avec eux pour nous capables de des sessions en créole, si ou pas tellement trop fort en anglais. Merci. Thank you.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es María Angélica y hoy estamos proveyendo interpretación en español y en criollo haitiano para asegurarnos de que todos tengamos acceso a esta importante conversación el día de hoy. Entonces, como dijeron, si ustedes quieren escuchar en español, por favor diríjanse al primer piso, a la mesa de interpretación y pueden recibir un aparatico en el que pueden escuchar en español. Para las personas que tienen su aparato aquí en este momento, por favor recuerden mantenerlo en el canal 1. No lo cambien, manténganlo en el canal 1. Gracias. Yes.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Donc, si nous là, nous participé dans l'audience là, nous avons mis en bon créole, nous pas fait trop de jambes en anglais. Nous avons demandé autant de passer devant sur table là, ou a demandé un petit appareil audio pour attendre en créole et ou a mettre sur canal 1. Canal 2, excusez, pour qu'attendre en créole, si vous avez une petite difficulté à comprendre en anglais, ça va passer dans l'espace là à soir. Merci, en pile.
Una nota adicional, si ustedes no pueden escuchar el español, por favor denos un minuto porque estamos resolviendo un problema técnico. No sé si ya esté resuelto. Ok, entonces, sí, por favor, nos pueden dar un par de minutos para resolver el problema técnico y ya deberían estar escuchando en español en los próximos 2 minutos. Gracias.
We stand bold. We stand bold. We stand bold! My name is Reverend Kennedy McGowan, and I serve as pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Hollywood, a proud member congregation of Bold Justice. We gather tonight because we have serious community problems that need our attention. But we have found that too often these problems get addressed in the wrong places. Thousands of people experiencing homelessness and mental illness have to seek relief in emergency rooms or jails. Loved ones living on a fixed income have to turn off their air conditioning and suffer through extreme heat just to save a few dollars so they can buy food. Our criminal justice system gets flooded with thousands of people a year arrested because they were too poor to pay a fine or a fee. And we have developed campaigns on each of these issues. Why? We want our public leaders to focus their attention on addressing these problems in the right places. Now, we live in a time where there's a lot of yelling and screaming by partisan politicians. Conservatives say, we need to stop wasting tax dollars, cut government spending, be strong on crime. Liberals say, We need to invest in people, spend money on programs, create more social support to prevent crime. Tonight we say, spending is not the point. It is not about spending more or cutting less. It is about spending money in the right places. When we spend money in the wrong places, it actually costs a lot more. What do I mean by this? Say you get a ticket. Say for not coming to a complete stop at a stop sign. You get a fine of almost $200. And if you can't afford that, your driver's license gets suspended. But you still have to work, right? So you keep driving. You get pulled over again. Now you're driving on a suspended license. The fines and fees for that can go as high as $1,000 and more. And if you're arrested, then you have court fees and the fees to reinstate your license. And that's assuming you didn't lose your job while in jail. Something that would have made it even harder to pay your fines and fees. And on top of that, you have an arrest record. That is expensive. And not only for that person arrested, but for the taxpayers. Getting caught in the system like that costs taxpayers thousands of dollars. But there is a better way that addresses these problems in ways that are better and cheaper and more fair for everyone. It's why a Republican sheriff, Bob Gattieri, in our own state of Florida, has expanded the very civil citation programs that we will talk about tonight. He wants to spend money, Sheriff Gattieri, in the right places, so it doesn't get wasted in the wrong places. Now, to help us make this point about right places and wrong places, whenever you hear one of the speakers say, we are looking for justice, our relief, our solutions, you should respond in all the wrong places. So let's practice. You ready? You're with me? We are looking for justice. We are looking for relief. We are looking for solutions. Oh, you can do better than that. We are looking for solutions. There you go. The issues we address tonight, they do not belong to one political party or one vested interest. These issues diverting nonviolent offenders from the court system, dealing with extreme heat in our community, they are not liberal or conservative. These issues are not Christian, Jewish, or Muslim. These issues belong to all of us. But just because these issues belong to all of us does not mean that there are not entrenched interests that benefit from the status quo. There are private interest groups like the state radio station and crime staffers that get paid when people are arrested. The clerk of court's office gets funded through fines and fees. Developers make more money when they don't have to worry about including trees and green space in their construction. So we have to be ready for officials, either tonight or in subsequent meetings, to resist commitments to action by using deflections or deceptions. Our job is to listen carefully to the responses of our officials, and our floor team is here to help lead our reactions. Floor team members, would you stand up and make a noise? Floor team? All right, there you go. They have been trained, and they will lead cheers and answer any questions you have. Please keep a couple of things in mind. First, do not boo any public official. We want to be respectful here. Secondly, do not applaud them for just being here either. All of these citizens, all of these officials are paid by you, the taxpayer. They are accountable to you, the citizens of this county. It's their job to be here. Third, applaud loudly when they make real commitments for action. Fourth, do not applaud an official when they distract or deflect. For example, one of our officials might say, I agree with your concern for tree cover in our communities. But this is really the job of the cities. When they blame the cities, they are taking the focus off of themselves. Tonight, we are going to focus on their responsibilities. Tonight, we come together to speak with one voice. We are looking for justice. We are looking for relief. We are looking for solutions. Now, Broward County's Director of Resilient Environment, Larry Diapondo, and Broward State Attorney, Howard Pryor, are both with us tonight. We will now escort them into the room, because tonight we start looking in some of the right places for solutions. Why? Because we stand bold. Thank you.
Good evening, Bold Justice. My name is Barbara Hassel, and I am co-president, and I represent the Sanctuary Church in Fort Lauderdale.
Good evening, Bold Justice. I'm Brother Brian Campbell. I'm the senior minister of the 15th Street Church of Christ in Pembroke, Florida. And I'm also co-president of Bold Justice.
And we are now calling this Nehemiah action to order. And of course, we will open with prayer. So we would like to ask Reverend Michael Anderson of New Jerusalem Baptist to come up to the microphone.
Let us pray. Father, we beseech thee, we lift Ukraine, our country, and our county. We ask that you would lift a barrier against all aggression and injustice everywhere. This you have taught us to know, that justice is love's strongest muscle. Justice is love's highest voice. It is love's greatest strength. We come tonight to understand that justice is the surest way that we can remind you, O God, that strong and caring humans still exist. We pray tonight that you will give clarity to every story, strength to every speaker, justice to every response. We come tonight and we implore you to stand with us as we stand for our kids, stand for our elders, stand for our climate, stand for our country, stand for our county, stand for justice. May we humans who have gathered here tonight bless you by our presence, bless you with our power. Cover this event tonight with justice until justice rolls down as fluid as water and becomes as right as a growing mighty stream. We thank you tonight for victory, not for us, but victory for all. This we pray in the tradition of the faith of your people, and the gathered people said, Amen. Amen.
Thank you for that opening prayer. At this time, we will have Norma Sinclair to come forward with our ground rules for tonight's meeting. And following Norma, we will have Marie Turner come forward and give us an update on permanent supportive housing.
Good evening, Bold Justice. We gather tonight with the spirit of the great leader, Nehemiah, on our minds and hearts. Nehemiah heard the cries of his people who had returned from exile in Babylon to rebuild Jerusalem. And he was angered by the challenges facing his community. Tonight, we gather with our public officials. Just like Nehemiah, we are frustrated about the injustices facing our world. We gather knowing that we can no longer have our public officials looking for justice in our world. However, as pursuers of justice, we ourselves need to act justly. Our goal tonight is to unite more than 1,000 voices as one. To do so, we have 3 ground rules for our meeting. First, there will be no questions from the floor. Tonight's meeting is the result of countless hours of research and planning to get to this point. We had meetings with each of the officials here tonight to discuss our findings and hear their thoughts on those findings. Tonight is about action. Our second ground rule is that we will treat our public officials and community leaders with respect. There will be no booing or name-calling in this meeting. Even if we disagree with their statements, we will listen carefully and we will respond without personal attacks. The pursuit of justice must be done justly. Third, we will expect respect in return from those same public officials. We have met with everyone and discussed our community concerns. Tonight, we are looking for direct and straightforward answers to these concerns. And we will press for those answers. Following these rules will ensure our congregations can speak with one voice and can show our public officials that we stand bold.
Good evening, Bold Justice. Broward County has over 2,000 people experiencing homelessness. 25% of them have a mental health diagnosis. For years, the only access to health care or housing was to go to the emergency room or get arrested. Using emergency rooms and jails for mental health services is looking for help in all the wrong places. But last year, Bold Justice, you pushed the county to fix this problem by expanding access to permanent supportive housing. In September, the County Commission officially voted to include $1.5 million of additional money in the budget to expand permanent supportive housing. In December, we met with the Coordinating Council of Broward County and Steve Worthman from Hope, South Florida. Mr. Worthman confirmed that the money had gone into place and the county was in the process of taking proposals to set up the housing. We were able to look over the budget and to see the proposal included $500,000 for staffing and $1.1 million to run the permanent supportive housing units. This $1.5 million will get families the help they need. This was able to be accomplished because of all the work you did. We stand bold.
At this time, we will move right into our action items for tonight. The first item that we're going to deal with is care for creation. I want to invite Jean Anderson to come forward with the statement of the problem.
I'm going to give you the background for Care for Creation. Now, you all live here in South Florida, and it feels like every year it gets hotter and hotter and hotter. In 2020, Broward County had 139 days with a heat index of over 90 degrees. That's more than 4 months of 90 degrees. We had 37 days with a heat index of over 100 degrees. When temperatures get that extreme, it's not just an inconvenience, it is dangerous. People become seriously ill and can even die. Carmen Smith from the Sanctuary Church is going to share how that extreme heat impacts her health.
My name is Carmen Smith. I've lived in South Florida since I was 6 years old. Most of my life, I've loved the outdoors. I like hiking and biking. I've played in outdoor bands and outdoor festivals and have done neighborhood cleanups in my neighborhood. About 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with lung cancer and had to have surgery and had part of my lung removed. Ever since then, the heat in Broward is just unbearable. It's just too much and it affects me. When the temperature gets above 80 or 85 degrees, I can't really walk to the corner very well just without having an asthma attack and having to run inside to get an inhaler and maybe have a breathing treatment. So the air conditioning is always on, and really I can't live without that air. It just makes my breathing very labored. So I have to plan all my outdoor activities for in the morning or the early morning. If I'm outdoors, I can't be outside in the heat for more than, well, after 9 or 9:30, that's it for me. And it's probably more like 9. After 9, I can't do it. I carry an inhaler everywhere I go just in case the heat gets too much. My husband also has advanced COPD, and he has similar reactions to the heat. The heat just also sends him into respiratory distress. He can't be outdoors for very long in the sun. You have to run the air conditioning constantly. And even there have been times when my thermostat registers at 70, and I'm just gasping for air and I just need to get it lower. So if we ever lost power in a hurricane or whatever, we couldn't stay here, we'd have to leave. And this is just not a discomfort that I'm talking about. It's the heat just makes it so that I'm really very aware of my surroundings and how the heat affects me. It is life-threatening, and something needs to be done to combat this temperature rise in South Florida. Thank you.
Not going outside after 9 a.m. is not not a viable solution to the heat. It is looking for relief. Carmen mentioned staying in her air-conditioned home as her only solution to the heat, but not everybody has that option. On average, it costs almost $300 a month to cool a home during the summer in Florida. That's double what it costs folks in other parts of the USA. And that's if you can afford the bill. For many people living on fixed incomes who cannot pay out hundreds of dollars in utility bills, the air conditioning is often turned off to save money. But turning off air conditioning with extreme heat can have serious consequences. Let's hear from Yolanda Hall.
Good evening, Board Justice. My name is Yolanda Hall, and I'm the Justice Ministry and Religious Liberty Leader at Iliatha Seventh-day Adventist Church in Tamarack, Florida for 3.5 years now. My mom is 76 years old, and she lives in a small apartment in an independent living 55 and older community. She lives on a fixed income, and every dollar counts. My brother and I help her as much as we can, but money is still tight for her, especially with the rising costs of necessities like food and gas. When I say every dollar counts, I mean it. So when my mom's rent increased by $50, it put a serious strain on her finances. She searched for ways to save money. Her electric bill is $106 a month, so she decided on turning off her air conditioning by replacing her air conditioning with a fan and never running her air conditioner. She saves $60 a month so that she could afford food and rent. The problem is that her place is as hot as an oven. She lives on the 3rd floor building overlooking a big asphalt parking lot. It is just so hot. I go over there every Thursday to help her with her groceries and other chores. Every time I go over there, I feel like I'm baking in an oven. And I can't stand to be there for more than a couple of hours. It's so hot. And she is in the apartment all day, sweating from the heat. My mom is a diabetic and has high blood pressure, so I worry about her being in that heat. Every year, I hear about seniors are rushed to the hospital with heat stroke. I don't want that to happen to my mom or anybody else's mom. While it's okay to leave the AC off now because it's only March, April, what will happen in the summer months of July and August when temperatures can get well over 90 degrees? People shouldn't have to live in dangerous and extreme heat just so they can afford to buy food. Thank you.
Suffering through extreme heat so you can eat and pay rent is looking for relief. In 2020, here in Broward County, 292 people were taken to the emergency room because of health problems resulting directly from heat. And 70
of things that I'm hearing tonight make me realize how passionate people are about it, and I will tell you that if there are people in this room and there are organizations in this room that we can work with that want to plant more trees.
Which is one thing that might be part of the plan.
I mean, I'll just tell you, we have money available for nonprofits to come and
Well, but then
work with us to access those funds to plant trees.
Well, that would be part of the plan, but so I think if we see a plan, we don't know exactly where that fits in. So this, you had your departments, even from our conversation on the 21st, has the data, has the ability to mesh that data and create a plan so that we can have a starting point. Without a plan, we don't see how it'll happen.
So again, if I could, so one of the things that we did is create a regional climate change action plan, right? And with that, we work with the 4-county area, Miami, Monroe, Palm Beach, and Broward. In fact, our climate summit is this December. To your point about me coming up with, it's not gonna be the plan for the community, right? We don't plan in a vacuum. And in order to do a good plan, you need the whole community to come together and have a community conversation. So to answer your question, I can't just come up with a plan. I'm in the county to come up with a plan. But I welcome this opportunity.
So what you're saying is that there is already a plan, a regional plan that is out there?
There is a climate change action plan that is created amongst the 4 counties as part of the 4-county compact. And we just embarked on a 2-year, it's beginning right now, resiliency study that is going to look at mitigation actions in Broward County and come up with plans to do whatever, sea level rise, climate change, heat, all of those are going to be part of that plan. And we are going to be working with stakeholders and with the entire community to come up with solutions as part of that plan, but it is much more.
Okay, so is it possible to get a copy of that plan and especially how it affects Broward County?
So I can already have on our website the resiliency dashboard and our climate change action plan. And then the 2-year endeavor I'm talking about is we are beginning the process of coming up with the resiliency plan as we speak. We are going to be developing it over the next 2 years. And our summit is in December. And like I said, I'm amazed to meet all of you, and I would love to hear from you.
So is this something then that you think that we, within that plan, will reach that 40% tree canopy?
So what
It may not be all of the mitigation efforts, but right now we're focusing on the tree canopy, and because it is a stated goal of the county.
Right, so that resiliency plan will include all of the above. It just will have various options or levers that people can pull. So I'm not promising that it's going to say, we definitely are going to reach canopy by this time, but what it will say is these are the actions that we're taking towards heat, sea level rise, climate change, flooding. It's going to be a whole host of measures as part of a community conversation. Does that answer your question?
No.
Well, we still want to know if we're going to get a plan.
So we're working on a resiliency plan.
So can you be responsible for the tree canopy part?
So here's the thing about the tree canopy, and it's one of the things that we talked about first. Like I said, heat and equitable access to energy, and working with FPL and solar, and trying to find ways. I mean, there are so many households in this county that are severely energy cost burdened, and no one should be going without air conditioning in this environment. And what I'm saying is that in order to enact a plan,
Okay, sir. Any heat mitigation plan must have tree canopy as one of its of the goals. And just to remind you that this plan was made, at least the agreement to have a 40% canopy is the county's, not ours. That was what you said you wanted to do. We are now 10 years have passed, and we have only reached 2% over the goal. We want a plan that will bring us to 40%. Can you do that? Give us a plan that will be able to do that within 10 years.
Right, so like I said, as part of the resiliency plan, we will look at that issue. And from heat mitigation, I mean, I will just say, I don't know if you're familiar with climate change, but there's the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold that we're pretty much sure we're going to cross. It's looking like now we may not reach the 4-degree global increase in temperature scenario. And as part of reducing heat, the bigger issue is greenhouse gas reduction emissions and trying to come up with a way to minimize.
Well, we do understand that all of climate change and mitigation is complex. It is intertwined, and it is not just a county issue. But we come to the county because you have the big picture. We do realize that you're going to have to work, and we're all going to have to work with the 31 municipalities that make up the county as well. But you can see it, you can see the heat island, you can see what communities might be able to be really close to that 40% with just a little bit of extra help, and that's what we're looking for in the plan. So the question is, will you draft that plan that will get the county to their stated goal of 40% tree canopy within 10 years?
Right, and so as I said, it's not a simple yes or no answer, because it is. So my agency in charge, right, is environmental protection, which is much bigger than that one goal. And so the balance.
Mr. Director, with all due respect, we hear what you're saying, and the question is a yes or no question. And so what we're hearing from you say is that there is a plan, but it's not to get to 40% tree canopy. And so what we're hearing you saying, but the question is again, are you willing to commit to developing a plan that will allow this county to reach its goal of reaching 40% tree canopy, as we've already stated? We want to hear the yes or no. Because what we're hearing is no.
So what you should be hearing is that when you look at all of the factors that go into where trees can be placed and the limitations on government authority to mandate trees being placed in those areas, I think that for me, what I'm getting out of this, the bigger question before I change for you.
Lord Justice, it appears that the director is telling us no, that he is unwilling to make a plan to achieve tree canopy of 40% as the county has indicated as its goal. Is that a no that we're hearing?
So as an engineer, I will tell you what intrigues me about your question is my first thing that I think I want to do is figure out, is it mathematically possible to have 40% tree canopy?
So you're not willing to develop a plan? Are you willing to develop a plan? That is a no. That is a no. Thank you.
You can call it what you like.
Well, we are glad that you were here, and we do understand the complexity of it. But it is a no for this at this time, and we are disappointed about that. But that doesn't mean that we are going to give up on working towards negotiating a plan to get the county to a 40% tree canopy.
Well, I look forward to hearing from any of you that want to plant trees on property or want money to plant trees. We have to work with the city. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we are disappointed that we were not able to get our plan in place as yet, but this is not the only action item we have today. And I would like to bring forward Father Wilfredo Contreras from San Isidro Catholic Church to talk to us about
Good evening, Full Justice. In 2013, we identified a serious problem in our communities. Too many of our children were arrested for minor offenses, such as crossing through an orange grove on their way home from school or getting in a shoving match at school. These children ended up branded for life with criminal records. So we decided to do something about this problem. We fought to ensure that all children who commit first-time misdemeanors would get access to a pre-arrest diversion program called civil citation.
Civil citations ensure people face sanctions for misbehaviors. For example, children now have to do community service hours, pay restitution. They might be sent to anger management or drug treatment, among other things. However, they don't get branded for life with a criminal record. 95%, yeah, that's something to be applauding about. No more criminal records. Yeah. 95% of the children who got a civil citation never got in trouble again. So going into our... So going into our 2021 Nehemiah action, at the assembly at that time, only 50% of eligible kids were getting civil citations. But at our 2021 Nehemiah action, State Attorney Mr. Harold Pryor committed to do a second screening in order to ensure that all eligible children get access to a civil citation. That screening process began in August of last year. Since the screening started, we have seen the number of children getting civil citations increase. Now, 87% of eligible children are getting civil citations. They are getting a second chance, yeah. Awesome. State Attorney Mr. Harold Pryor, by your following through on your commitment and getting kids into civil citations, you are transforming this community. Because of your work, last year alone, 1,011 children were saved from lifetime criminal records. Those 1,011 children will not have an arrest record hanging over their heads when they apply for college, when they apply for jobs, when they try to enter the military, obtain safe housing, or even try to adopt children. These children's lives could have been derailed over a simple minor mistake. Instead, now they have a chance to succeed. And yet, we still have some work to do in the future, specifically getting civil citations for domestic disturbances, which would get our county numbers up to 95% civil citations. But for today, we want to celebrate this important progress. Just like Esther from Hebrew Bible, we believe, Mr. Harold Pryor, you were placed here in Broward County for this moment, and we want to acknowledge your work. Thank you. Thank you, brother. So now let's listen to these testimonies related to criminal justice issues. Beginning with Deanne Connolly Graham and Esperanza Puert. She will deliver her testimony en español and then in English. Esperanza Puert dará su testimonio primero en español y luego en inglés. Deanne?
Thank you. Just to clarify, it'll only be in English. I don't speak Spanish. A little over 25 years ago, I got into a minor traffic accident, and when I showed my license to the policeman, he advised me that my license was suspended. I had had a traffic infraction about a year before that I had neglected to pay, and had never received a notice that my license had been suspended because of not paying that ticket. I was handcuffed and arrested because of driving with a suspended license. At that time, I had a 13-year-old son and a 5-year-old son at home. Luckily, I was able to call a friend to go and stay with them, as I did have to spend a night in jail and go to court the next day. It was a horrific experience, needless to say, embarrassing, humiliating, and very expensive. The following day in court, I had a lot more money to pay than the original infraction. And I had an arrest record because of neglecting to pay a traffic ticket.
Buenas noches, Board Justice. Mi nombre es Esperanza Puert y soy parroquiana de San Isidro Catholic Church. Una mañana iba a trabajar alrededor de las 5 de la mañana y la policía me detuvo. Me informaron que me detenían porque tenía la luz de la placa de la matrícula apagada. Mi visa había expirado y por esa razón mi licencia ya no era válida para manejar en la Florida. Me dieron un aviso de comparecencia y tuve que ir a la corte un día específico y pagar una multa de $500. A pesar de que no me llevaron a la cárcel, todavía tengo un registro de arresto por esta razón. Mientras estaba en la corte, descubrí que si la policía me hubiese arrestado en lugar de darme un aviso de comparecer, podría haber sido deportada. Todo el tiempo que estuve en la corte fue muy agobiante para mí. Tenía tanto miedo que me deportaran solo por tratar de ir a trabajar. Tuve suerte, pero mucha gente no tiene tanta suerte. I was going to work early one morning around 5 a.m. I was pulled over by the police. They said I was pulled over because the light on my license plate was out. My visa has expired. That meant I no longer have a valid driver license. I was given a notice to appeal. I had to go to court on a specific day and pay $500 fine. Even though I wasn't taken to jail, I still have an arrest record. While I was at court, I found out that if the police had arrested me instead of giving me a notice to appeal, I could have been deported. The whole time I was at the court, I was overwhelmed. I was so afraid that I won't be deported just for trying to go to work. I got lucky, but a lot of people are not that lucky. Thank you.
So unfortunately, stories like Deanne and Esperanza are all too common. In 2020, in Broward County, more than 14,000 adults were arrested and charged with a misdemeanor. People of color, which include Afro-Americans, brown people, and Hispanics, were twice as likely to be arrested for a misdemeanor. In some cases, as witnessed by Esperanza, those arrested who were undocumented once processed through the system and ran through the ICE database would later be deported, disrupting the lives of their families, many of whom have children. We're not talking about violent crimes here. We're talking about littering, disorderly conduct, trespassing, possession of small amounts of marijuana, two people getting into a fight where no one gets hurt, and one of the most common ones, driving offenses. Arresting people for these minor offenses is looking for justice. There are now over 187,000 people with suspended licenses in Broward County. Amazing. And we know that 77% of these license suspensions in our county are given for unpaid fees and fines. That is more than 3/4 of the suspensions. Often, these fees and fines go unpaid because the license holder, guess what, cannot afford to pay them. So what happens then, if you ever get arrested, even for a misdemeanor, it adds even more to the cost that people couldn't pay in the first place. For your first offense of driving on a suspended license, you might have to pay as much as $1,600. Outrageous. Outrageous. Criminalizing poverty, in effect, is looking for justice in all the wrong places. See, what many people don't know is that our court system is entirely funded by these costs. While fines are intended to be a punishment, fees are simply assessed as revenue. Many unrelated trust funds, such as the state radio program, are funded through these fees. Even a private nonprofit called Crime Stoppers funds its budget with fees from people who are arrested. These sanctions may be needed for serious criminals who commit violent offenses, but tens of thousands of people in our county are getting arrested because they can't afford to pay fines or because their paperwork is not in order. See, the court system is set up in such a way that its budget is fully funded when more and more people are arrested. And you know what? That's just wrong. We do not believe that people should be criminalized because they are poor. Being poor is not a crime, since when has it ever become a crime to be poor? The Broward County Commission has been looking for a solution in the right place. In 2018, the county started a pre-arrest diversion program that gives people consequences without branding them for life with a criminal record. Our county already has a pre-arrest diversion program that gives people consequences without branding them for life. That is called our Adult Civil Citation Program. Those who qualify for a civil citation often must do community service hours or take classes. But, most importantly, they don't end up with an arrest record that prevents them from getting jobs, obtain housing, or puts them at risk for deportation, as it almost happened to Esperanza. In 2020, 14,000 adults were arrested for misdemeanors in Broward. Despite Broward County having a civil citation program for adults, last year, only 87 people got a civil citation. 87 people of 14,000. That's not even 1% of the cases. And driving offenses, which make up a third of misdemeanors, are not even eligible. Our local officials have the power to stop arresting people for these minor offenses, like driving a license that had been suspended for clerical error. We refuse to support a system that criminalizes people for being poor. This needs to change, and that's why we are here together. Because together we stand bold.
At this time, we will have State Attorney Errol Pryor to come to the stage. State Attorney Pryor, the Adult Civil Citation Program that Broward County passed in 2018 is a strong ordinance. It says that all first-time nonviolent misdemeanor offenses are eligible for an adult civil citation. We understand this to include misdemeanor driving offenses, like driving without a tag, driving without a license, and driving on a D6 license suspension. But the program is only strong if it is actually used. Pinellas County gets more than 1,000 adults into their adult civil citation program every year. And there is no reason why we cannot do the same here in Broward County. They accomplish this through a strong screening process. The first opportunity to issue a civil citation is with the officer themselves. However, sometimes the officer is unable to determine if someone is eligible, or they simply make a mistake. So the second opportunity comes at the booking desk. When someone is brought in for booking, charged with an eligible offense, the staff screens them for a civil citation before processing the arrest. Finally,
Someone checks at the clerk of court's office. Anyone who is issued a notice to appear and screens them for civil citation. This is why Pinellas County is so effective. And Mr. Pryor, this is what you have already done for juveniles. Broward County's juvenile civil citation numbers were terrible for years until you started screening. You turned the juvenile program into a success, saving the futures of countless numbers of children. Now we're asking you to do it again for adults. At this time, I'm going to ask you two questions, State Attorney Pryor. I'm going to ask you a series of yes or no questions. We are looking for you to respond with yeses to all of them. If you say yes, if you say yes right away to everything, we will give you a minute to address our membership today. However, if we have to clarify any of your responses, I think you've seen what can happen with the previous official. If we have to clarify any of your responses, that may take up all the time we have on the agenda for this session. So question number one. Question number one, Attorney Pryor, State Attorney Pryor. Will you establish a 3-step screening process for adult civil citations similar to the one in Pinellas County in the next 60 days?
If I can get all of the stakeholders to agree to it, and we're dealing with shortages, staff shortages, but if we can get everything on board, you have my commitment to getting all the stakeholders together to see if we can create a screening program.
It sounds like you are committed to establishing that screening process, and what we would like to ask at this time...
It probably won't be in 60 days.
Well, will it be in 90 days? That's the question.
That'll be tough, but I'm working. I'm committed to it. I'm gonna work to make that happen, but I doubt 90 days is tough, but we'll work to do it. If we don't, we'll come back to the table and figure it out to make it happen.
That sounds like a yes. State Attorney Pryor, the second question. Will you give civil citation for misdemeanor driving offenses, like driving without a license, driving on a license that was suspended for fines and fees, and driving on an expired tag?
I want to.
State Attorney Pryor, we appreciate your directness and the success that you've already had with the juvenile civil citation program, and we're looking forward to that same success with the adult civil citation program. We're excited by the commitments you have made today. We will want to meet with you in about 60 days to get a status update. And at this time, we will allow you just a minute or so if you have any other statement.
Okay. Oh, microphone police, can I hold it? No? No? I joke all the time. I deal with law enforcement all the time, but I didn't expect to deal with the microphone police tonight. Well, first and foremost, thank you all for having me. I'm gonna be short. I am committed to ensuring that we don't criminalize poverty. Because what we know with these laws, with certain laws in the criminal justice system, it's been traditionally stacked against black and brown folk, but also poor people. And so it's important for me, it's important for my office to not criminalize poverty. And my job is to bring everyone to the table, bring all the stakeholders together. And my job, I have to try to convince people, because a lot of my directives aren't followed. And I don't have the power over many agencies, but we have the power of influence. And so we need to work to bring everyone to the table, to bring everyone on board, to understand that we cannot criminalize poverty, and I'm dedicated to that. So thank you all for having me, and I look forward to meeting with you all again to follow up on these issues. So thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we will have our summary of results and next steps.
Before you leave, just want to say, Harold, thank you so much for the commitment, and we'll be meeting with you in the next 30 days just to see the progress you're making. Thank you so much.
We stand bold. We stand bold. Dear brothers and sisters, tonight we have made history. It's the first time since 2019 that we have in person Nehemiah action. And it is possible because of you. You make it possible tonight. And it's about more than 1,000 of us who are here tonight to fight for justice and justice for our county. Tonight, we fight for all those caught up in the criminal justice system. And also, we try also for those who are due to the extreme heat in our country. Tonight we made progress in these critical issues, but the work doesn't end here. We have more work to do. And I want to take this opportunity on your behalf to commend our state attorney, Award, for seeing this issue very important necessity that we have in our country to touch, prevent the criminal system, the justice system, that we are not penalized poverty. But at the same time, we are disappointed that Director Lenny did not see the necessity to work the plan we proposed him. It is their plan that we try to present him. It's not our plan. The 40% is the plan in the city and the county. But unfortunately, there is nothing prepared. And it's clear for all of us. But you know, we are very disappointed, but this is not the end. Because we will keep continuing to stand bold until justice reigns like a river in our country. So, next week, all our officials will follow up with the point that we are agreed upon with the officials of the county. And even those that we deny, we will keep fighting. We will keep fighting until justice reigns. I want to remind you on the 14th of June, World Justice will hold its annual Justice Ministry celebration. That night, leaders from both communities will report the progress that they have made on the issues that we agree upon tonight. And we thank you all one more time to make history with world justice in Puert.
Before we have our closing prayer, just a couple of announcements before we leave tonight. We want to remind everyone to please make sure you leave the church signs. Here, you can place them right here in front of the stage as you found them. Please make sure you leave the signs in front of the stage here. Also, to all those who are on the program tonight, the evaluation will be in room 102, which is next to the registration table. And the last reminder is to make sure that you return the translation devices.
Para recordarles que por favor devuelvan el equipo de interpretación en la misma mesa donde se les entregó, y les pedimos el favor que por favor en la parte de atrás del equipo le den la vuelta a la tapita y saquen las pilas. Y por favor todo el equipo con las pilas lo entreguen en la bolsita de plástico que se les entregaron. Bueno, gracias.
Tant songer pour nous mettre l'équipement nous, avant nous aller demander nous tout, n'a ouvert door, n'a viré, n'a retiré pile, n'a mettre dans sachet, n'a mettre équipement dans sachet à tout, n'a pour mettre nous pendant n'a quitté espace là. Merci en pile et bonne soirée.
At this time, Wayne Rogers will come forward to give us our closing prayer.
Good evening. Before I introduce myself, why don't you all stand up and stretch a little and turn around and say hello to your neighbor. Okay. My name is Wayne Rogers. I'm a member of TAO Synagogue, the first synagogue to join Beaujust in a very long time. And our temple is called Temple Adakor, the Temple of the People of Light. Yes, my name is Wayne Rogers, but I'm proud to have the Hebrew name of Natan Avram. Natan meaning the gift of God, and Avram, you know, who turned into Abraham. In the last couple of days, a song has been going through my mind, and I'm going to, if you just listen, I'm glad you got a chance to stretch. It goes, wade in the water, children, wade in the water, God's gonna trouble the water. All right, sing along with me. Wade in the water, children, wade in the water, children, God's gonna trouble that water. But I have a verse and you can just listen. See those people dressed in white. You know who they are on this very night. They're the people of Beaujustice making things right. The people of Beaujustice making things right. Now go ahead and sing. Louder, come on. For this last year, we have waded into the water like Miriam with her tambourine and the first man who stepped into those walls of water as the waters were parted. We've looked up at the walls of water that are injustice. We've looked at the problems, we have been blessed. We decided on the important problems, and we have been blessed. We met with the people in authority and got them to move a bit. And for that, we are blessed. We will celebrate, but tonight we are blessed, and we will continue to wade in the water, and with God trouble the waters. And as a blessing tonight, it is the blessing of Aaron, the chief priest, the brother of Moses. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and give you peace. Now, many of us don't know that that really is the prayer of the high priest Aaron. And as we of the three faiths enter into our very sacred times, the Muslims have entered theirs with Ramadan, and both Jews and Christians will enter into their sacred times at this very middle of the month. And I'll sort of, if I'm taking too long, let me know, but you know, in the Christian story, what are the first words that Mary Magdalene says to Jesus? What is the first word? I'm almost finished. What is the first word? Rabboni, teacher. Teacher. And that's what a rabbi is. I'm not a rabbi, but we are all rabbis. And we're teaching the people how to do justice. And finally, I'm just got one more word. I've never been on this big crowd before. So I'll be 2 minutes, 1 minute, 50, 60 seconds. Okay, here we go. All right. The last thing is, I'm going to teach you 3 things in Hebrew. First, Laila Tov. Turn to your left and your right and say Laila Tov. It means good night. Laila Tov. Very good. Because he's going to take my arm and drag me off. Baruch Hashem, which means bless God, thank to God. God is the blessing to all of us, because in Hebrew every word has about 50 meanings. So Baruch Hashem, and of course turn to your neighbor and say Baruch Hashem. And finally, Shalom, which means peace. It means hello, and it means goodbye. So, Shalom, take my arm.